I'm good. I'm good.
Did you enjoy that story?
Wasn't that unbelievable?
Oh, brilliant
Absolutely
altogether.
fantastic.
Colin, I can't let you go without telling everybody that this is going to be one of our guests at the upcoming Listowel International Storytelling Festival from the 17th to the 19th of September. So we've scored Colin for our venue. Are you looking up? Are you looking forward to it, Colin?
Oh wow. Just a bit. I am so excited. I literally cannot wait.
And I hear it's your birthday.
And it's my birthday on the Saturday night. Oh my word. I'm 39 that night.
I thought you were 21 and a bit, and that the bit was your own business.
I tell people sometimes that, but I'm 39 and howling, as they say up here.
I love it. So, what would make it better? And as a birthday wish, would you like to invite anybody else to come and be by our fireside?
Well, that would be nice. It would be nice to if you would be there, Maria,
I'm
for
definitely
example.
going to be there, but somebody else maybe.
Um, who could I
And
invite?
and it's a birthday wish, so
A birthday wish. Wouldn't it be great if Donna could be there?
wouldn't it be great? And it's a birthday wish. We'll just let that one with Dana know and we'll see how that one goes. And in the meantime, I'm going to let you off to sing us a song and give everybody a taste of what is coming their way for our festival. Actually, Colin is so accomplished. It could be a song, it might be a story, it could be a recitation. So we'll just have to see. But I see the guitar, so that could give us a hint.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask you to indulge me if you would, Maria, because I'm actually it's actually a banjo that I have, and if you didn't mind, I thought I'd maybe play a wee tune on the banjo, and then I'll maybe do a recitation for you. You were talking there about cultures clashing. Well, the banjo in Ireland is as a result of two cultures, not clashing, but coming together. Uh, uh, American, Irish American immigrants who kind of managed to make a few dollars in the States and get back to Ireland, brought a strange instrument back with them, and it was the banjo. And banjos had been developed by the African Americans, and from an instrument that they or the memory of instruments that they played in West Africa, and they talked about banjars, and that eventually evolved into banjo. And the Irish Americans brought these back with them, and of course, then they started using them in traditional Irish music. And this only happened 100 odd years ago. But if you go into any pub, any session now, all over Ireland, you'll see guys playing banjos. And the first time I heard anybody playing a banjo was, bear with me a wee second, my phone has just gone.
Sorry, Colin, you got muted there, so I'm just going to ask you to unmute again. Sorry, Colin. We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you soon. So it just won't let me ask you to unmute. So we'll come back to you very soon, my brother.
I'm unmuted
Oh,
now,
you're
Maria.
back. Great.
I'm back. Anyway, I was saying that the first time I heard a banjo being played was the Dubliners. Remember the Dubliners? I was only a kid. I must have been about 10 or 11, and I heard a banjo on a record for the first time, and I was hooked. And they were playing a tune. It was Barney McKenna, and he was playing a tune called Chief O'Neill's Favourite. And I conjured up this image in my head of some old Irish chieftain dressed in saffron and a eagle feather maybe in his cap or something like that, and listening to harpists or pipers playing this tune. And that was what inspired me to start playing traditional Irish music. When I heard this tune, I was kind of disappointed to hear to read years later that the Chief O'Neill, whose tune that this was his favourite, was not an Irish chieftain at all. He was a chief of police in Chicago, an Irish American who had managed to rise up the ranks of the police force over there to become a chief. And this was his favorite tune. And he was a great collector of Irish music. And this is a tune that he collected from we're not sure where, and it had no name, and it was named Chief O'Neill's favourite, and it's my favourite tune too, because it's the first tune I ever really fell in love with and learned to play. So I'm going to play a wee snatch of it now. It's a wee hornpipe called Chief O'Neill's. Chief O'Neill's favourite.
Mighty stuff. Brilliant.
Well, I was up the north coast today. I was up in the Maiden City, up in Derry, where Madeline comes from, and then I worked my way back all along the north coast and calling into wee towns and villages and antique shops. I love antique shops, and I picked this thing up here. Does anyone know what it is? People from Ireland, they'll probably know what this is. It's a sleighing. It's a tool for cutting peat.
Is it for the bog?
Yep, it's a peat spade, or an Irish a sleighing. And people have been using sleighings in Ireland for centuries, of course. Ireland has the biggest number of different designs of spade than any other country in Europe. It's got 270 different designs of spade have been recorded in Ireland. I think that's amazing. Anyway, I love old peat spades. And I wrote a recitation a few weeks ago about an old fella who was one of the last peat cutters in a bog that is just across the way from me here. I live basically on the top of a hill in the middle of a big bog. And this bog, about a mile and a half from where I live, is called Capina Bog. And I should explain to anybody who's not from Ireland, like maybe Donna, a sleighing is the peat spade, as I've just mentioned there. And another tool that people need when they're cutting peat is a barrow, like a wheelbarrow. But here we call them borrows. So if you hear that word, you'll know what it is. It's a special wheelbarrow for wheeling peat in the bog. Anyway, I'm just going to give you this recitation now. It's called The Last Man. I'm the last man cutting turf up on Capina Bog. And it won't be long till I'll be pushing up the sod. And when I go, there'll not be one to step into my boots, for my sons are in America putting down new roots. They say I'm far too old to be up here on my own, but a hard working country life is all I've ever known. Making hay and reaping corn was a blessing, not a curse. And autumn days gathering spuds and bringing home the turf. All that hard work, the young folks saying, not a thing to show, but calloused hands and midgy bites and a ruddy, wind-burnt glow. But if I had my time all over, I'd do the very same again. I'd still go up to Capna with my borra and my sleighing. Against all wind and weather, in springtime down the years, I'd brave the cold drip at my nose, and the snow blowing round me ears. It was a small, small price to pay to hear the curlew call, and the lapwing, the skylark, and the cuckoo best of all. There was grouse and hares aplenty, and wee green-jewelled frogs, and cotton grass and myrtle, and all the flowers of the bog. There was fairy flax and heather and sweet forget-me-nots, golden spikes of asphodel to brighten up the moss. Gaily coloured dragonflies with silver whispering wings, and big fat hairy caterpillars, so many wondrous things. And we took it all for granted No fear for nature then. We never thought that a way of life was coming to an end. But I'm the last man cutting turf up on Capina Bog, a relic from a bygone age, a banshee out in the bog. They're welcome to their grass, gas and oil and cheap electric light. There's no company like an open fire on the darkest winter's night. And now they say that cutting turf harms the environment, but the folk that wrought the bog by hand barely made a dent. Big business, industry, aye, and governments, they're to blame. Not the man out in the bog with his burra and his sleighing. The old boys that I once knew walked lightly on this earth. They had a real love for the bog and they knew what it was worth. They had a name for every bird, from the linnet to the snipe. And the wisest always took the time to stop and smoke a pipe. Nowadays, it's not for want of fuel that I come here. I could stock up on machine cut peat, for it's not so very dear. I come up here to clear my mind, for tranquility is bliss. To cut my turf for old time's sake, and of course, to reminisce about my father and my uncles, my brothers Sean and Hugh, and all the neighbour folk of old from the townland of Loch Dhu. Sometimes I hear their voices and I answer with a laugh, for in my mind I'm back there in the days we used to have. Time was that every countryman worked his bank of peat, and turf provided everything from work to light and heat. And all summer long we'd foot the turf and build the castles higher to dry the peats and get them home and stack them for the fire. And the earthy smell of that peat smoke always takes me back to my mother making soda bread, the stories and the crack, the cups of tea and the fiddlers and the big kettle and the boil. It always seemed well worth it then, the long days and the toil. Now the birds are not so plentiful, and you'd hardly see a hare. The peat banks are all overgrown and there's rushes everywhere. There's nobody comes up here now but me and my old dog, for I'm the last man cutting turf up on Capina Bog.
Oh, that was just gorgeous. Thank you so much, Colin. Another feather to the bow. Oh my goodness. I'm going to let you go and we'll come back to you at the end because we're going to have a little